Learned how In this section, you'll learn how to add cross-tabulations to your reports. You might wonder what a cross-tabulation is. A cross-tabulation allows you to view the data in a different way. For example, you can view sales by salesperson by month using a cross-tabulation report. We'll learn how to build cross-tabulations both with and without the use of an expert. You'll learn how to modify the data that's included in the crosstab report and how to format your crosstab report. I'm going to click to create a new report. We're going to use the report gallery and the use of an expert to build the first crosstab report that we work with. So I'm going to click the crosstab button within the list of experts. As usual, I need to select a data file. I'm going to click to select data file, and I'm going to locate the Extreme database and select it. There's two tables that are going to be involved in the cross-tabulation report, the employee table and the orders table. The reason why both of these tables are going to be included is that my report is going to have the sales by salesperson by month, actually by order date. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. I could add other databases at this point, but I'm done, so I'm going to go ahead and click Done. I'm going to verify that the relationship between these two tables is correct, and once I've done that, I can come over and click the Crosstab tab of the Crosstab Report Expert dialog. This is where I can designate the rows and columns as well as the summarized fields for my report. So what I want to do right now is I want to actually have the employee's full name appear in my cross-tabulation report. So I need to create a formula. And notice that we have a command button that allows us to build a formula right from here. I'm going to click the New Formula command button, and I'm going to create a formula which is full name. I'm going to click OK, and the formula editor appears. I'm going to select from the employee table, and from the employee table, I'm going to grab the first name plus a space and plus the last name, and that's going to be my formula. I'm going to go ahead and verify that I haven't made any mistakes, and now I'm ready to save and close. So now I have a full name formula. What I'm going to do is take that full name formula and drag it to the columns box. That's because my employees are going to appear as column headings within my report. Now I want the order date, which comes from the orders table, to appear as the column heading. I want the order date that comes from my orders table to appear as the row headings for my report. So I'm going to grab the order date and I'm going to place that as a row heading. Now I need to determine what sort of data I'm going to summarize. The data that I'm going to summarize is the order amount. So what I'm going to be looking at within my cross-tabulation report is the order amounts by salesperson and date. So I've now specified my rows, my columns, and my summarized fields. And I'm ready to go ahead and preview the report to see what I've done. I click the Preview Report command button, and the expert creates my report for me. Notice that we have, for example, Ann Dodsworth. Now, Ann Dodsworth on 2/19 of 1996 sold $3,479.70. She actually sold the same amount on 2/21, and she sold a different amount on 2/22. She sold $2,804.04. If I scroll a little bit over to the right, we can see that Janet Leverline sold $14,039.10, and that was on 2/21/96. So as I said, we've cross-tabulated our data. Going across the top, we have all of our employees, and going down the side, we have all of the different dates where those particular employees have made sales. What I want to do is limit the criteria, because right now, if we look at this report, it's actually very large. I'm going to go to the last page of the report by clicking the Go to Last Page tool. And notice that we actually have 16 pages of data. That means that the dates that the employees sold on took up a total of 16 pages. So I want to actually limit the order date. I want to limit the criteria for my report. As with other reports, I limit my criteria using the Select Expert. So I'm going to select the Select Expert tool, which launches the Choose Field dialog. I want to remember base my criteria on the order date, so I'm going to select the order date and I'm going to click OK. I want the order date to be between two different dates, so I'm going to select between and I'm going to specify a date range. What I want to do is I want to look at all the orders that occurred in 1997. So I'm going to select date 1997, 1, for the start date, and for the ending date, I'm going to select date 1997, 12/31. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and click OK. I want to refresh my data, and when it refreshes, notice that it looks like there's no data here. I'm on page 12 of 12. I need to go back to the first page of the report. Notice that I'm viewing the data for 1/1/97, 1/2/97, and so forth. I'm going to opt to go to the next page. When I go to the next page, if you look over to the left, you'll notice that we're going through 2/3, 2/4, and so forth. As I continue to go through all the pages of the report, you'll see that all of our data is within 1997. Finally, when I get far enough, you'll see that I'm viewing the data for December of 1997. So we've limited the criteria for our cross-tabulation report in the exact same way that we would limit the criteria for a normal report. Now I'm going to return to the Design tab to show you something about this cross-tabulation that's very important. When you build a cross-tabulation report, you need to think about where it's placed within the report. Notice that this cross-tabulation was placed by the expert in the report header for the report. That means that that cross-tabulation is only going to appear once at the beginning of the report. You need to place a cross-tabulation within either the report header, the report footer, or you can place it within a group header or group footer. If you place it within the report header or the report footer, it's only going to print once per report. On the other hand, as you'll see later, if you place that cross-tabulation within a group header or group footer, it's going to print once for each group. Now I'm going to go ahead and save this report. I'm going to save it as sales by employee and date. I go ahead and click Save, and I've saved my work. Now that you've learned how to create a cross-tabulation report with the use of an expert, let's take a look at how you can build one without the use of an expert. I'm going to click to create another new report, but this time I'm going to click the Custom button. And I'm going to select Custom, not Custom Crosstab, but Custom Report. The reason I'm going to select Custom Report is that my report is not just going to contain a cross-tabulation. I'm going to be teaching you how we can add a cross-tabulation to an existing report. So that's why I'm going to select Custom Report, and then I'm going to select a data file. Once again, we're going to locate the Extreme database. Now, I'm teaching you throughout this course how to create reports using the Extreme database. Realize that the process is really the same regardless of the database that you've chosen. Once I've selected that database, I'm ready to select tables. And once again, I'm going to select employee as well as orders, and then click OK to accept those tables as part of my report. The visual linking expert appears, and since the links have been established correctly, I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. I want to insert a group, so I'm going to use the Insert Group tool on the supplemental toolbar to insert a group into my report. The group that I'm going to insert is going to be based on employee ID. So I'm going to select the employee ID and opt to repeat the group header on each page. I'm going to click OK. Now I actually want to insert a second group header. So I'm going to go back again to the Insert Group tool, and I'm going to insert another group, and this one is going to be based not on an employee ID, but it's going to be based on the customer ID. So I'm going to grab the customer ID, which is down below in the orders table, and that's going to be my second grouping. I'm also going to repeat that group on each page. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. I want to show you something. Since we've got two groups, the first one's by employee and the second one is by customer. What if we wanted to group first by customer and then by employee? No big deal. If you take your mouse pointer and hover it over the group header within the margin, if you click, notice that you get a hand. You can now click and drag, and when you let go, notice that the customer ID is now placed before the employee. If I want to return this to how it was before, I can take the customer ID and move it down below. So you can see now we have the employee ID and then the customer ID. So that shows you how to change the precedence of your grouping level. Remember, first we're going to be grouped by employee right now, and within employee, we're going to be grouped by our customer. Well, now that we've done that, we're ready to add some information to the detail section of the report. So what I'm going to do is add some information from the orders table to the detail section of the report. So I need to locate the orders table, which is right here. And there's three fields that I'm going to be adding to the detail section. I'm going to add the order date, the ship via, and the order amount. So first I'm going to grab the order date and bring that to the detail section. Then I'm going to grab the ship via and bring that to the detail section. And then I'm going to grab the order amount and bring that to the details section as well. So I've now added these three fields, and if I want to take a quick look at my report to see what it's looking like, I can go ahead and click the preview tool on the toolbar, and notice that we have a 1 for employee 1, a 1 for customer 1, and then we have all of the orders, order date, ship via, and order amount for each customer. And that's actually for customers within that particular employee. So there's the employee, there's a customer, there's another customer, and if we were to go far enough down, we would see another employee. What I'm going to do right now is just quickly format this order date. I'm going to right-click it and select Format Field and change it so that it displays just the date rather than the date and the time. I also might want to go over to the Date tab, and I might want to make this a 4-digit year. Clicking OK, I'm going to go ahead and accept my changes. Well, now what I've decided to do is add the employee name right up here rather than the employee ID. So I need to build a formula within my report. I do that using the Insert Fields tool on the toolbar. I click Insert Fields, and I want to create a formula. So I click Formula, and then I'm going to go ahead and click New to create a new formula. The name of my formula is going to be full name. And something we've done many times before, we're simply going to take from the employees table the first name and combine it with a space and then the last name to grab the employee name. I'm going to skip the process of checking the formula and attempt to save and close. If there is an error, I would be told about it now. Now I'm ready to delete the employee ID from Group Header 1 and instead drag and drop the full name into Group Header 1, making sure that I indeed place it within the group header. So now you can see that we have the name of the employee rather than the employee's number. Now we're going to do the same thing for the customer. For the customer, we're going to grab the customer name rather than the customer ID. The problem is, if you remember, we only added 2 tables to this report, orders and employees. So I need to add another table. To add another table, I use the database menu. From the database menu, I'm going to want to select Add Database to Report. From Extreme, I'm going to go ahead and select the customer table. When I click OK, again the visual linking expert appears, asking me to verify that the relationship between customer and orders was established correctly. I'm going to click OK to accept these changes. And now the customer table and all of its data is going to be available to me. So notice we have employee, orders, and customers. If I open up the customers, there's the customer name. So I'm now ready to delete the customer ID and grab the customer name and place that within my report. So there's the customer name. Now there's something that I want to point out to you. I'm on the first page of my report. Now I'm going to close the Insert Fields window so we can take a better look. First we have Nancy. Now then we have City Cyclists and Pathfinders, which are our customers. And notice we have Bikeaholics Anonymous. And notice that Bikeaholics Anonymous is not in alphabetical order with City Cyclists and Pathfinders. Furthermore, if we were to go through our report and find another employee besides Nancy, you would find out that the employees are not in alphabetical order either. The reason for this is because the order is being based, remember, on our groupings, and our groupings are based on the employee ID and the customer ID. So I really need to go in and modify my groupings. In order to modify my groupings, I'm going to first right-click within the group header 1, and I'm going to select Change Group. Instead of being grouped by employee ID, instead I want to be grouped by the full name. Now realize I'm going to be in alphabetical order by the first name, since the full name is the first name combined with the last name. In ascending order, and again we keep the repeat group header. I'm going to do the exact same thing. Notice we already have a change. I'm going to do the exact same thing with the group header for the customer. So I right-click, and I want to change the group, and rather than being grouped by customer ID, I'm going to be grouped by the customer name. Clicking OK, you can see that now all of the customer names for a particular employee are going to be appropriately displayed in alphabetical order. Well, let's go ahead and save our work. So I'm going to go ahead and click the Save tool on the toolbar, and I'm going to save this report as Employee Sales. Now that we've set up the foundation for our report, we're ready to add the cross-tabulation to it. I'm going to return to the Design tab. And from the Design tab, I'm ready to insert my cross-tabulation. Elementary toolbar, I'm going to opt to insert a cross-tab. Once I do that, the cross-tab dialog appears. What I want to do is have the customer names appear in their rows, the employee name appear as the column headings, and the order amount to appear as my summarized field. So I'm going to find the customer name, and once I've found the customer name, I'm going to drag and drop it into the rows box. For the columns, I want to use the full employee name, which is right here. So I'm going to grab the full name and I'm going to make it a column heading. My order amount is going to be my summarized field. So I've entered all of the options for my cross-tabulation, and I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Notice that when I do that, I have the no symbol. If I place myself within certain sections of my report, the no symbol comes and goes away. I cannot place a cross-tabulation within a page footer. I can within a report footer, a group footer. I cannot within a detail section. I can within the group header. And I cannot within the page header. But I can within the report header. So I need to make a decision as to where I'm going to place that cross-tabulation based on when I want it to print. Now I've decided that I want my cross-tabulation to print once in the entire report. So I'm going to place it within the report header. I click to place it within the report header and notice that it appears, or the representation for it appears. If I click to select this object right here, notice in the status bar in the lower left-hand corner, it says the sum of the order's order amount. If I click in the row 1 name, notice in the lower left-hand corner it says row 1 name. And if I click in the column, you can see it says column 1 name. But if we actually look at the tooltips that appear, you can see in the tooltips that this is the customer name, that this is the full name, and that this is the order amount. I get the tooltip to display. Sometimes it can be a little bit flaky. It's showing up for a second. So if I preview my report, let's see what we get. If I preview my report, you can see that we have a cross-tabulation that shows me all of the employees and all of the customers, and it cross-tabulates the sales by employee, by customer. So we've gotten exactly what we want. In order to really test this out to make sure that it works, let's go back to the design of our report. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a subtotal on the order amount, both for the employee as well as for the customer. So I'm going to right-click order amount, and I'm going to opt to insert a subtotal. I'm going to insert a subtotal for the employee, so I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to do it again, right-clicking the order amount in the detail section. I'm going to insert a subtotal for the customer as well. Clicking OK, you can see that we now have subtotals both for the orders and for the customers. Let's go ahead and save our work since we've done a lot of work, and then we'll go ahead and preview and verify that our cross-tabulation is working properly. We click Preview, and let's take a better look at a couple of these numbers. Remember that Ann Dodsworth sold $13,770.96 to Alley Cat Cycles. If I scroll down through my report, this is the cross-tabulation. I'm going to need to go to another page. I need to continue until we're done with the cross-tabulation, and then I can find Ann Dodsworth. If we look at Alley Cat Cycle, and we look at the subtotal, you can see that indeed it's $13,770.96. Now what I'm going to do is go back to the first page again. On the first page, remember we have Ann Dodsworth right over here, and she's in the third column. Now what I'm going to do is continue on to the bottom of the cross-tabulation. If I go to the very bottom of the cross-tabulation, notice that Ann Dodsworth sold a total of $651,999.19. So now what we're going to do is find the end of Ann Dodsworth data. And here's all of her data. She sold to a lot of different customers. So we need to actually find the end of all of her customers. They're in alphabetical order. And when we get to the end of Ann Dodsworth, which is right here, notice there's the $651,999.19. So you can see that our cross-tabulation has effectively cross-tabulated all of Ann Dodsworth's sales. We've seen how we can place a cross-tabulation in a report header. Now let's take a look at how we can place a cross-tabulation within a group header. I'm going to return to the Design tab, and I'm going to insert another cross-tabulation using the cross-tabulation tool. I insert a cross-tab, and I'm going to build a brand new cross-tab. This brand new cross-tab is going to have the shippers as the column headings, and as the row headings, it's going to have my customer names. Then it's going to summarize the order amount by shipper and customer. So let's go ahead and take the customer name, and the customer name is going to become my row heading. I'm now going to go to the orders table. The orders table has my ship via, and my ship via is going to become my column heading. The order amount, remember, is going to become my summarized field. So that's all I need to specify, and now I'm ready to click OK and accept my change. I need to decide where I'm going to place this cross-tabulation, and I'm going to place it within the employee group header. So I'm just going to come right over here for now, and I'm going to click to place it to the right of the employee full name. And you can see the cross-tabulation actually is appearing to the right. What I'm now going to do is drag and drop it so it's underneath the employee full name. I'm going to give myself some extra room underneath the cross-tabulation. And I'm also going to go to the customer name I'm also going to go to the group header for customer name, make it larger. So we're just formatting our report a little bit better. Well, now we're ready to preview and see what we came up with. Clicking the Preview tab, let's see what we get. I'm going to go back to the first page of the report. If I look at the first page of the report, that's our original cross-tabulation that shows us every customer by every employee and what was sold. And that's going to continue until the third page. Now, if we look at the third page, after we finish the cross-tabulation for the overall report, we get a cross-tabulation for Albert, who didn't actually sell anything, and Andrew, who didn't sell anything either. If I go to the fourth page of the report, though, here we can see on the fourth page of the report is the cross-tabulation for Ann. You can see by shipper what Ann sold to each employee. So notice that Alley Cat Cycles is broken into FedEx, Loomis, Parcel Post, and Pickup, Purolator, and UPS, and there's the total. Remember that $13,770 and 96 cents that we had for Alley Cat Cycles? Well, there it is. Well, let's remember that $13,000 and also this $92.90 for FedEx. Scrolling downward, after the cross-tabulation, we need to go to the next page since Ann sold very, very well. And here's more data for Ann. Finally, if we get far enough, here we have Alley Cat Cycles. Alley Cat Cycles, notice for FedEx, there's our $92.90 and 30 cents. And we can see here's the $13,770 and 96 cents that Ann sold in total to Alley Cat Cycles. Now here's the totals for each shipper, and if we go to the lower right-hand corner, since this is a cross-tabulation, this is the amount that Ann sold in total. Notice that we need to actually expand this so that we can see it in full. I would need to expand the size of the cross-tabulation itself, and then I can expand what's within it. I'm just going to try to expand what's within it, and you can see it automatically sized the cross-tabulation. So there's the grand total that Ann sold, which is $651,999.19. And that number should be familiar to you as well. If we go to the end of Ann's data, I'm going to scroll over to the left so we'll have an idea of when we're at the end of Ann's data. We can verify that number. There's all of Ann's sales, broken down by customer and within customer by the shipper. And when we get all done looking at Ann's sales, if you look at the total for Ann, you can see there's that familiar $651,999.19. As you can see, our cross-tabulation report contains a huge volume of data. Let's limit the data that appears on our report. I'm going to use the Select Expert to limit the data that's included in this report. I click to select the Select Expert, and I want to limit the customers that appear on the report. So I'm going to base the criteria on customer name. Clicking OK, I want the customer name to be one of several values. I'm going to go ahead and hone in on Alley Cat Cycles, as well as Bikeaholics, Anonymous, Bikes and Tykes, and Bikes for Tykes. So now I've selected the customers whose data that I want to view. When I click OK, I'm asked if I want to refresh my data, and I'm going to go ahead and refresh my data. Notice that now my report is much shorter. I'm going to go to the first page of my report and look at the very top of the report in the report header. We still have all of our employees going across the top. Those are all of our different employees. Let's go ahead and expand this so that everything fits. So you can see there's our employees going across the top. And we only have 4 different customers whose data that we're looking at. So now it's very easy to see, for example, for Ann, there's our $13,770 for Alley Cat, and there's our $7,635.25 for Bikeaholics. Here it is broken down by shipper, and if we go over to the right, there's those 2 numbers that we just looked at. So we're only viewing the data within the grand total cross-tabulation for those 4 customers, and then within each employee with the group cross-tabulation also for those 4 customers. And there's the data that supports the cross-tabulation. So fortunately, once you use the Select Expert to create criteria for the overall report, it affects any cross-tabulations contained within the report. Let's go ahead and save our work. Cross-tabulations are extremely powerful.